Hey guys, welcome back to part 3 of the Fader Pro Masterclass. My name is Nicky Romero, and today we are going to talk about some really interesting stuff. We're going to talk about the mix. How do you mix a song? Why is a mixdown important? How do you get your mix light and tight? What is the difference between analog mixing, digital mixing? Maybe some loudness here and there. Is loudness really important? And how much does it really matter when you're playing your track out live? And does it matter on radio? And how does it impact Spotify? All of these subjects are really interesting to talk about. A lot of these subjects also made me make a lot of mistakes in the past. So there's a lot of things and a lot of knowledge that I want to share with you guys. In all honesty, all of this is just my take on it. There's many more different perspectives that you can follow or that you can try out. Everything that I'm sharing really is that what I think that works. And if you find something useful in all of that knowledge, that would be amazing. But feel free to try out everything that you want to try out to get to your end result. So first off, I wanted to talk about why it is so important to master your track right. Let's start off with playing your track out live. And maybe it's good to dig into what is really going on when you're playing one of these tracks out live. Let's first start off with a festival. If you're playing on a big festival, keep in mind that the first piece of quality loss is already there when you bounce out your track to an MP3. And a lot of people have no idea what the difference is between all those bit rates, 320, there is dithering, there is wave, there's AIFF, so many different file formats and details into those formats. What is really the best setting you can set to your track and to export it? And what of an impact does it have on all of these live settings? So keep in mind when you have your freshly baked new track ready on your USB stick and you're putting that into your CDJ, or maybe you're mixing with Denon, whatever, and you're playing it out on this huge live set. Well, the first thing that happens, everything that comes out of your mixing device, your live, let's say, mixer, goes through a huge amount of processing, because a live stack with maybe, that has to empower audio for 2,000 people, 30,000 people, is going to be hugely processed in order to make it sound right on a festival like that. So keep in mind that even though you mastered your track right and you put like a sick loudness in there, let's say a -6 RMS, or maybe even -5, then it will absolutely smash it in your studio. But keep in mind that it's going to be processed again when you're playing it out live. So it's always a good idea to not squeeze it out to the max and leave a little bit of air in there. So this is one of the reasons why, in my example, every time I played this record from Sebastian Ingrosso and Tommy Trash called Reload, when I played that record out live, I was like, how on earth does it sound so fat live every time I played? And I listened to it in the studio, and still it sounded great, but it didn't have the same impact. And I found that one of the tricks that they applied was not mixing it too loud with too much bass going on. It's going to leave so much air in the end for the processing on the live stage in order to make it sound fat live. This is one of these little things that I found over the last few years that really matters when you're producing music. Same goes for Spotify or radio. When you mix a track, keep in mind that on most radio stations, everything under 60 hertz is going to be cut out of your record anyway. That is the reason why a lot of these radio songs sound really fat on the radio, but once you listen them into the studio, your complete perspective changes. Sometimes some of these tracks sound even not that great, or some of them sound even really bad. But in the end of the day, it is what matters, how it sounds on the radio. And also the same applies from live to radio. There is a lot of processing going on radio stations. So if you play out your track on radio, it's going to go through a brand most of the times called Orban. There's like a huge variety of compressors, imaging, EQ, multi-band compressing that is gonna influence your mix. So keep in mind that also on radio, it's a really good idea to save some headroom there and to make sure that you don't use too much bass, or that you mix your vocals too far away in the mix, because then the multi-band compressor will not pick it up and your vocals are gonna disappear in your track. Same goes for stereo and for mono. If you mix your track too stereo and too wide, it's gonna do very weird things to your mix when it's played on radio. So, keep in mind some of this information. Hopefully, it will work for your tracks as well. And I wanted to start off this chapter, actually, the part 3, chapter 1, with comparing some of these tracks that I've done in the past, or tracks on my label, Protocol Recordings, and how different masters have a different outcome. So we're going to compare digital masters to, let's say, analog masters. What is the difference? Does it have a difference at all? And if there is a difference, what does the difference sound like? So I wanted to start off the comparison between analog and digital.